supposed to talk about how I became Muslim and basically what Islam is in my perspective. As this is the standard question for any convert or revert, how you become a Muslim. It's not very hard for me to tell my story, but I think it's important to get the full view, that I don't just tell my story. Because I think this is true for most converts, at least the ones that are sincere in their conversion. I mean, there are people who convert because they need to convert to get married. The people who convert because they're lonely or whatnot, and they find someone which is a good friend to them, who happen to be Muslim, and they become Muslim kind of through those ways. Most of the time, these are not sincere in their conversion. They haven't studied, they haven't read up, they don't try to become Muslims. I mean, sincerely, they become out of Muslims out of social contexts. Sometimes this leads to something good, but most of the time, it's my view that they don't actually truly accept Islam, and they don't really. It's not because they're evil people; it's because they don't understand the concept. So, I mean, even though it might sound that I'm calling them munafiq, I'm not actually. I'm trying to say that they have not grasped the concept because they haven't studied. And for me, I have a bit of a social context, obviously, because I think everyone has thought into some one way or another. But the question is what you do with that. And what it was for me, I'm brought up in Sweden, in a very posh area in Sweden, in Stockholm, which is probably the third richest borough in entire Sweden. So it's a very, I mean, wealthy people who lives there. It's not only wealthy people, but I mean, mainly. I've never associated myself with those type of people because they have a certain way and a manner which is not suitable for most people. And I have a friend there who was actually a bit misplaced. Alhamdulillah, I have to say, because he did not fit in, not at all. It was an Afghan family who were Muslim. And he was the only immigrant for I don't know how many kilometers. I mean, it was really, really misplaced. And also growing up in our schools we went to, I think he was the only immigrant in the entire school. I can't remember any other immigrant. But this also made him like interesting. Like for us who was his classmates, we came to know him, and it made him like interesting in that sense that he did not do things which we did. It was funny but it's actually through this friend, and we became very good friends for some reason. And I think it's actually the will of God that we're supposed to be friends. That I started to understand and learn and know about Islam. It was very weird because as a friend, when we were young, it wasn't like the ideal friend, but yet we kept on being friends. It wasn't like I was a best friend to him as well. Like I wasn't always a good friend. But it was something that made us still be like stick together and continue being friends. So and also it was his family. I mean, I can't say that it was particular something I could really say that they didn't try to preach Islam. They didn't try to force us to read or anything. I mean, I understand from him that they were forced. I mean, in their family, because the family tried to keep the Islamic values, but being the only Muslim family in such area, it's hard for them and you could really see that. I mean, later on, you could see that the mother was really struggling to keep their children's. I mean, Islamic and Muslim, and yet, yeah, very hard. And as we grew up, we started like doing all what kids do. I mean, in my area where I grew up, there was a lot of villas. So people had big houses with a lot of big gardens and a lot of fruit trees. So we started doing like those things which people do, like stealing from people's garden. I mean, stealing fruit. It's not considered stealing, although in our culture, but it's still stealing because it's their right, and especially Islamically, it's. I mean, even though they might not want to use the fruit, you have to ask for permission, of course. And then, I mean, progressively, we became worse. Not worse in the culture, seeing like we didn't actually do any severe stealing or anything like that. But I mean, Islamically, it became worse. But this made it interesting for me to try to see what is Islam, what is this, and this is my social aspect. I have a friend, he's Muslim, and then because I'm his friend, I become drawn to it, and I become interested in it. Although he tried to identify himself with Islam, and when we're at this age, he always tried to get his point through. He tried to argue for his sake, although he didn't have that much information about it. I mean, he would try to argue on the basis of God. It should be said that most Swedish people do not believe in God, and I mean, this is quite. I have a hard time, and most people in Sweden have a hard time considering the Swedish general population is Ahlul Kitab, because it's almost impossible to do, because most of them actually reject God. Also, during this, between 16 and 18 years old, we started having these debates and these discussions and these things, which also led me to start to think about these issues of, well, is there a creator? Is there a God? I mean, and what's the purpose? I mean, and because these issues, they can't be changed over a day. You don't certainly say, yes, this is true, God exists and whatnot, and I'm going to be a Muslim. No, because an idea has to be planted, and the person who takes it, he has to fertilize it himself and like make it grow through research, and investigation to see if actually this is true. But anywho, so when we were discussing things, me and my friend at this age, he was, because this was his identity, he kind of, when he wanted to argue for the sake of Islam and argue for the sake of God, and that yeah, God exists, but he didn't want anyone to be like him, because this was what made him different from us. Putting it in that way, it makes sense. I mean, it's a human trait. Especially if you're brought up in this way, that this is what separates you from these other people. Now, if these other people become like, well, you have nothing that makes you become, yeah, you don't even become one of the crowd. You become dissolved. So this is where the ego and basically Shaitan comes in and really manipulates people. And especially when you're young, you don't have any defense against this, because you don't have the experience. What also happens here is that, so I tried to sit and discuss, and I said to him, actually, because he went to this Quran schools, and I said, well, can you take me so I can ask your teacher something? Because he said, my teacher, he knows a lot. He knows, like, every time he didn't know anything, he said, well, my teacher knows, he knows a lot. And I said, well, can I speak with him? And he kind of like made me not want to go go and meet him. Maybe it was intentional, maybe it was unintentional. I think it's a combination of both. I mean, he didn't really know himself how to handle such a situation. So a few years actually went by with a lot of normal Scandinavian behavior, if we can call it that. It's yeah. And the funny thing is that my friend was actually in on this. I know it's not nice to tell of other people's bad behaviors. But I think it's important for the story. That my friend was in over all this, going to clubs, going to parties, and this and that. But yet again, we still had these discussions. I mean, he didn't see, as he knew was doing something wrong, but he didn't see it as being wrong in the same. I mean, as a sin. He thought, I shouldn't do this, but it's not haram. He basically saw it on the level of makruh. It's better if I don't. But then all of a sudden, I remember it was what was it, 2019 or something. So it's not. I mean, this period is like it's limited to like 4 years, 5 years time. It's a very short period of time actually. I mean, considering. Then he started to change. I mean, he said that, well, I'm gonna stop cursing. And I'm like, what? Why would you stop cursing? I said, yeah, well, look, my religion says I shouldn't curse. I'm gonna stop cursing. Like, this is kind of a big thing. I mean, curse words doesn't mean anything in these cultures. I mean, you can say different types of words, and people do it all the time on TV. It's so common. And when someone say they're gonna do something that's so common, it doesn't really make sense. So this actually awoke my interest in starting researching Islam again and doing research. But then I had other things in my life which actually came up and blocked this, like new people which had come into my life, which we had come to know through these parties and other social events, which actually were anti-Islam, although they themselves had their roots in Islamic cultures. They were very. Now I'm not talking about Iranians, although I mean, many think that this is the case. Many Muslims would draw this association when living in the West, that it would be this Shah Iranians who live here in the Scandinavian countries. No, actually, it was none of those type of groups, but still people from Islamic roots which were against Muslims and Muslim behaviors. So my friend and I, we were, although my friend now, when he had reached to these conclusions that he should stop cursing and stop doing these things, he had gained some knowledge, some information that actually the life he was living wasn't good enough. I mean, he wasn't doing things as he should do them. He wasn't being a good person, and he wasn't behaving in an Islamic manner, which made him, when we were sitting, all the friends, I mean, we were a group of maybe 5 friends who usually sat at each other's house playing Xbox. Well, Xbox didn't exist really. We were playing TV consoles anyway, and although he tried here in this age, this was like a period of time when other things, other social aspects pulled me the other way, away from searching Islamic knowledge. And so we came into this very deep conversation, which ended up to 4 o'clock in the mornings, and yeah, we had nice times. It's hard to get get in that position. I think for anyone, especially in modern societies. I mean, this is quite. It was really a rahmah from God that we got the opportunity, alhamdulillah, to sit and discuss these issues, because it made me think and made me actually want to study about Islam, and which actually made me draw a few conclusions for myself. Although I was still uncertain if this was actually the choice, because I mean it's a big change in one's life. And also, it should be mentioned that these issues it's been remained between me, my friend, and myself. I have not. When I came to this point, I didn't consult anyone. I didn't talk to anyone else. I didn't chat with my mother or father. I didn't speak with my brother. I didn't speak with any other Muslims at first, except for him. And then his family gave me the Quran, and we sat and we started studying the Quran together, and we started to read some things. And I think it was in English, actually, the Quran I got. Yeah, so I started reading that, and we discussed passages and things. And then we ended up sitting on Pal Talk, I remember. And but I might be actually confusing this with after I became Muslim. But I remember at least that we were sitting at Pal Talk because there was this, because I didn't really know what to do if I should convert. And actually, interestingly enough, it was a Wahhabi brother that he said on Pal Talk, because this is their rhetorics, this is their way of doing things, is that they only give you a choice, yes or no, black or white. Although we know the world is not black or white; it's in a shade of grey. Very few things are actually yes or no, to be honest. But they present it like this. So he said, "Do you accept that you should drink alcohol?" But this time, I had actually, because we were studying, and because of my situation, I had time to take a step back from the world, because everything works on routine in the West. And I can imagine that this is the case for most cultures and civilizations, but especially, I mean, I've seen when I've traveled around the world that, I mean, in hotter countries, it's less on routine. You get the chance to take this pause, a step back. There's no pause in our societies. Everything's rolling 24/7. It's up, morning, go to school, work, home, sleep, and it's like this every single day. You don't have time to pause, and the only pause people get is the drinking, and even that is a routine. It's actually scheduled every single day of their lives, although they don't think about it. They think they're free in their choice, but actually they're not. This have been chosen for them. So this gave me the opportunity, gave me the pause to step back and look at society. And this Wahhabi brother said, "Well, do you accept drinking alcohol?" And I didn't, because I knew that I wasn't actually getting any satisfaction out of it. It didn't give me anything. It just gave you a headache the day after. So I didn't enjoy it. And when analyzing it more and more, actually was so many things which actually you regret from doing it. You say, I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't. What heck? And like now I'm broke because of that. And listen, like you could see the bad effects of it. And when looking back, you say, well, I actually didn't have that fun. So I said, yes. Well, I accept that. I don't agree with alcohol. It's not, although it's a social accepted, it doesn't mean it's right. He said, okay, do you accept that the people should live a life where actually you're not going around with that woman, that person. You should stay. You should have a family life. And family is very, and of course, like this is not. I mean, this is understandable for most rational people, that a society where you don't have a structured family structure, I mean, a safe family structure where you know that this is the set boundaries, this is your mother, this is your father, will end up in chaos. You will have kids which becomes violent and irrational in their behavior, which we also can see in many Western societies today. Although this is not put in focus, because immigrants group are put more in focus, but you still see it, that these are troublemaker kids, that they don't have a stable family structure. So I said yes to this as well. Then I said, well, okay, so you accept these basic fundamentals in Islamic social life, but do you accept God? I said, yes, I accept that there's a God and He has a plan. I said, well, if you accept all this, basically you're already Muslim. You accept that our way of life, you accept our method of thinking, then you're already Muslim. this was kind of scary for my perspective. But I've never considered myself being Muslim, and didn't consider myself in that from that point of view either. And I was thinking, what happens now? Like, what's my obligations? What I have to do now? Oh my God, I'm trapped. Don't know if anyone knows this from when they're getting married. You have like this. No, I want out. I can't stay. I can't get married now. Oh my God, it's I'm too young or whatnot. Or when you make any choice, basically, would you know that this have ramifications and you have no idea what you're going into, basically. And this is what I had. So when I logged off from Paltalk, I did it quite fast after he told me this. It was very, very short. Shortly after, at least. Then I had this. I didn't know what to do. I mean, a person in it. I was 19, 20. I think I was going to be 20 that year. Well, this is kind of fuzzy for me because this was not relevant my age in my mind. But between 20, in my 20s, like 1920s, 21, somewhere there. I prayed to God in the best manner I could. I been earlier when I was younger. I had gone to this preschool, this Christian preschool. So I had some concept of how to pray Christian-wise, but my family was not Christian. As I said, it's very hard to define a Swedish person as Ahlul Kitab. I would not actually consider them to be Ahlul Kitab. Majority of them. You actually have to ask them, are you Christian, rather than assume that they're Christian. You can't assume that they're Christian in a Swedish society. In most Scandinavian societies, I would actually say. So I tried to pray like for guidance. I was like, what should I do? I mean, I knew I had to take a choice in regards to God, but I didn't know what choice that was, which led me to a dream, which I had. And I have a friend. He became. I would say he became a Christian because he had the same life as his others, same thoughts as his others. But after doing, I don't know actually what it's called, to be honest. But I think it's just a confirmation. I mean, it's his reconfirmation of his faith with the church. He became very practicing Christian, actually, and he did that at 18, when he was 18 approximately. In this dream, I had this friend and me. We were walking down the street, and this friend, it was a very good friend at that time. I mean, we have not spoken in a long time now. It's not because we're bad friends, but because of the locations. Since I don't live in Sweden more, it's hard to stay friends. But he and I was walking down a road, and we were 100% set where we were going. But then again, at the same time, we had no idea where this road would lead, but we knew where we were going. So if we took a left turn, we knew why we took a left turn. I mean, it was to get to a certain place. And then all of a sudden we came to a door where a man greeted us, who was dressed in white we couldn't see his face because he had a shiny face. I mean, it was light. Shiny face is wrong to say. It was actually basically just light coming from his face. So this made us, and he greeted us, and he sat and discussed actually Islam with us. This person. And I had no idea what he said. This is not the thing. I just know that in my dream I had the feeling like, yes, we were sitting and discussing Islam, but I can't remember what he said. And then this person said, well, he's going to show us how to pray. He's going to teach us how to pray. And my at this point, my Christian friend, he was gone from the stream. He went up and left, and it was just me and this person. And he was actually standing. I was standing next to him, and we were praying 2 rakah of prayers. The funny thing here is that prior to this dream, I had not. I probably had observed through television this and that, but I had no concept of a Muslim prayer. Actually, I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know what a prayer was, and I had no idea that it was actually based on rakah. This is interesting for me. I was only explained this afterwards when I told the dream that this was actually how Muslims pray. And when we were finished with this 2 rakat, I was in a party or in a club in one of these locations, which I usually frequent before. And in this place, there was these things given. I mean, it was alcohol. There was, for some reason, there was pork dishes, and which is not common to a party. But I mean, it was all these things which was not permissible for Muslims. This I had come to know through my studies of Islam, and like seeing that, well, alcohol is not permissible because of this and that reason. Eating pork is not permissible, but that is kind of common knowledge for everyone that Muslims don't eat pork. And also the like all these things that are not permissible, but occurs basically in society and in these parties. They were offered to me, and I had this person which I prayed with and taught us and sat and explained things about Islam. He was sit with us, with me rather, and I could see him in the corner of my eye, like just about in the corner of my eye. But as I turned and tried to look at him, I couldn't see him. He just kept out of my reach, out of my corner of my eye. But I could feel him. I could feel his that he was observing me, seeing what I was doing. And as I tried to I mean, someone gave me something to drink, and it was beer, for instance. I tried to reach it. I felt that he was disappointed. He didn't want me to have that, so I rejected it. And then he was happy. And then as I rejected things, they tried more and more frequently to give me these things. And I rejected it. It became harder to say no. So at the end of it, I chose to leave from the place completely. And I said, well, no, I'm going to leave. And then I felt that this was a strong happiness. I mean, he was really, really happy that I left. And this, I don't know if you know this, but there's this feeling of joy. I mean, when you're a kid, you have it a lot, especially when school's out for the summer. This is a happy feeling. You just know that you're gonna have so much fun, and like you can't wait. It's like it's almost like your heart beats extra fast and or skips a beat or something. And this is the feeling I got from him. And I had this feeling when I woke up. I said, like, I prayed before I went to sleep for a sign. If this is not a sign, I don't know what is. So the next day I called my friend and I told him about this dream, and I said, and I went and I had said the Shahada. As you see, but in my point, many people take it like this dream. It's was what made me convert. When I spoke to many people, they said that this is the thing which made me convert. But no, actually, this dream is not what made me. This is like taking an istikhara, and the istikhara is very, very good. This is what I see it. God gives me I asked for an istikhara in my own way, and I get it in this form. Since I didn't know at that time what I would be. And asking a Muslim to take an istikhara if you should become a Muslim, not this, why do you need to take istikhara? This is, of course, it's good. But anyway, but actually this dream and me converting this, it was just to say that it is good for you, and the stream is to confirm that for me. What led, I mean, the studies and the discussions with my friend led up to this point, which actually made me say, okay, fine. And amazingly enough, it's actually this Wahhabi brother has also something, although I don't agree with his ideology, he had he was actually in over the whole discussion, although I completely forgotten even his Pal Talk name, so I have no idea who the person is. May Allah reward him for his efforts, inshallah. But this is when my life changes a lot, in the sense that it doesn't change so much in what I do, but it changes how I do it, so to speak, and how to approach things. I mean, in my life when I'm doing certain things, I still go to these amusement parks. I still go out swimming with my friends, because I mean, living in such a rich area, which I do, obviously you have nature, which you don't have in other areas. Especially in Sweden, it's suchly loose. Dense, I mean, it's not the dense population in Sweden, so we have lots of nature in which we can go. We can go and swim in peace. We can be left alone. I mean, I remember an area which was really popular in my area to go swimming. We could still go there in the middle of the day. We could swim there for the entire day without seeing a single soul, and it was a popular place. It says a lot about how little people actually there is in Sweden. And this was in Stockholm, so it's not like it's a small town somewhere in the countryside. It's the largest city in Sweden. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy for that. But so we still did these things. The only difference is that how we approached things. I mean, we approached things with the mindset of God, and we approached things with like with remembering, like, yeah, well, it's time for Dhuhr. We should go pray. And it wasn't like you have to pray. It was like, oh, it's time for Dhuhr. Let's pray. It's more of like people, like now when I speak with my coworkers, they say, well, do you have to pray 5 times a day? Well, I don't say, no, I don't have to pray 5 times a day. I want to pray 5 times a day. It is different. Like, yes, it is an obligation, but it's not the obligation as such that you say, well, I have to pray. Not if you study Islam the way I did. And many of my friends, which have come to the conclusion as I have, they don't, I mean, I don't hear them complaining. I mean, of course, it can be hard and you can be really tired from waking up to Fajr. But it's not the same thing as saying that, oh, do I have to get up? Really? This is not how I see it, and this is not how many of the people I speak with see Islam and our obligations. It's also like the people say, oh, you can't drink, so you're forbidden from drinking. Well, yes, I am forbidden from drinking, but I don't see it as a prohibition as such. It's not like the law from downloading movies or something. I'm not forbidden in that sense, although I am, but I don't see it that way. It's like how should I put it? It's like when we choose to do something, like when we choose to study, we want a good grade. It is, I mean, if you want a good grade and you know that you have an exam in 2 months, 1 month, you don't have to sit and study every single day. It's kind of prerequisite that you have to study every day, otherwise you won't get a good grade. I mean, you might actually fail the course otherwise. I mean, if you don't study, you won't learn the things which you need to know for the exam. But no one actually is there to tell you to do it. it's up to your own thing. And this is the thing, like, if we as Muslims eat pork, we drink alcohol and this thing, it affects ourselves, it affects us, and we chose basis on that to reject them. Everything that is not permissible in Islam, it is because it has a bad effect. It's on that basis we say we're not permitted to do it, because we want to build a better personality, a better person. Although I can agree, some Muslims focus this in a wrong way. They only focus like you can and can't do something. It's not about can and can't do. It's about the effects and the cause and effect of things. As giving money to a poor person, or any person who needs money at a certain point, it is always good, because it makes you a generous person. It makes you as a person a likable person, and this has also the effect with everything else, with every other person. Like, if you eat certain things, you actually will get certain bad traits from that. It actually has bad effects, and I'm not talking necessarily about physical effects. Of course, I believe that things have a physical effect as well, but it's more about, like, let's call it metaphysical effects, because it might actually affect your psyche from digesting certain things. I mean, eating pork has a certain effect. Drinking alcohol has a certain effect. Eating chicken has another effect, and that's why I also try as much as possible, only as well, to eat organic things, because I believe that as well as we're not supposed to eat pork, we're supposed to eat as organic as possible, because God has set up a system, and we're supposed to live through that system. Now, putting chickens into a big farm and then mass slaughtering them, it's not according to God's system in my mind. But this is also a difference of opinion, but this is a, a longer story. But this is so when looking at how my life changed, it changed in this way, that when we went out, instead of going to any place and eating, we selected where we were supposed to eat. We said that, well, look, this might have tasted good going to McDonald's, but is it really good for us? We started thinking in those terms. Is it good for us spiritually? And also, we started to say, like, look, this person, he has a really bad behavior. He curses. I mean, he's not a good friend. He talks behind your back. And maybe we shouldn't be around this person. And also, like, a person who came up to me, and I don't know why he was angry about it, but he seemed like resentful towards me for becoming Muslim. And a person who can't accept you for you who you are, should you really have him and choose to have him as a friend? No, you should probably not, because you don't know what his agenda is. I mean, he wants people to be according to his behavior, and he wants that probably because he wants something out of it. A friendship is give and take, and I think that overall, you have. This is basically what Islam and I mean, if you look at any of the religions, like from Judaism to Islam, any of the Abrahamic religions, that actually we see this in the core, that it's actually about constructing a personality which is liked and which has good traits in it, and keeping away from things which actually reduce you to one of these persons that rejects a person because you don't have the same beliefs that you. It's not on the basis of belief, but if a person can't have this, don't have this core that, look, you have to be accepting of him, you have to try to understand. You should, maybe you yourself should reject that person, because at the end he will actually be harmful to you. And it's actually also because of this that I chose to become a Shia from the very start. Many converts to become Sunni or Wahhabi or whatnot, because this is the majority. most come in contact with these people. I shouldn't say these people, these brothers. Not to misunderstand that. I don't. It's not that I dislike a person who is Sunni or just because I'm Shia. That's not what I want to say. But the person most come into contact with a Sunni Muslim because, well, there are more of them. Obviously, it's going to be easier to come in contact with them. But what I did is that actually my friend's mother, she didn't want me to become Sunni. She has a bad relationship with a lot of, even though most of her family is Sunni Muslim. But she herself has studied and become Shia, and that's why she wanted it. But she didn't want me to just say that, yes, I'm Shia. So she gave me a lot of books to read on Shia and Sunni. For some reason, she gave me Peshawar Nights. It's not a book for a newly converted person, because you won't understand half of the discussions. But it was a nice thought, because for her it made it made sense. But what I came to, the conclusion which I could draw, which I could see, which is actually confirmed and affirmed time and time again through my studies, is that Shia allows for a more free thought and development of the mind than most Sunni schools do. The Sunni schools are more rigid in their understanding of things. I mean, Shias allow for a free, not a free interpretation. I shouldn't say it as that, but as a metaphoric interpretation of things. And this is more inclined to what I believe, that if God sends a religion 1400 years ago, it wouldn't make sense for him to say, like, look, the world is like this, and it should stay like this for 1400 years or even 5,000 years. Not because, I mean, humans and human societies in change and involvement. And that's why God gives us a set of references and principles on which we base our society. And in that sense, God makes a box, if we want to call it, within these frames of reference. God gives us free reins. You can do whatever you want. You just please keep within these frames. It shouldn't be too hard for you. I mean, it's quite loose frames in many terms, and it's for your own good. It's not like I do it because I really want to control your life. I want to see that you do this. It's for your own good. I do this for your sake. And also, it's quite interesting because I read a lot of these I don't know what to call them, self-help books. Maybe they're called. I mean, these. It's not get rich in 20 days books, but this how to improve your life, how to become more structured in your life, and this and that. And many of these people actually uses these examples, which can be found in the Quran and in the book, that actually you need a certain set of principles in order to become successful in your life. And these principles are actually given already in the Quran. And these principles is something which is known to us. I mean, it is said that in the Quran, it says that this is nothing but a reminder for the people. And I believe this because even when I hadn't read the Quran, many of these things which were said in the Quran made sense to me. I said, yes, I agree on this. How come that I can agree on something when I haven't even read the Quran? It's because it's in our nature. It's a part of us. We choose to dull it down and remove it and ignore these things throughout our lives because our society thinks we shouldn't focus on them. But naturally, I mean, from birth, I believe that we still have them, and contemplating on them, we still see that it makes sense for us, because the Quran is not a tool of enforcing law. It's a tool of reminding us what the truth is, and actually how to behave in our lives. what I would say is that I have a few wishes for Muslims and Muslim society, and something I wanted to, something just on a personal level. Like every Muslim, I think, want to do Hajj. They want to visit all the shrines of the Masumin, well, at least for the Shia, uh, because of their representation, what they represent. Although I'd love to do it in my own way and not in the way that's done. I mean, I've been to some of the shrines, and there's so many people, so packed, that it's hard actually to visit them. It would be nice to just visit them, but maybe in paradise, inshallah. But on another level, something I'd like to achieve within the society is to change the view of Muslims, because Muslims aren't dangerous, and we should also accept that many of the people we see in TV or presented as Muslim as being criminals and this and that, we have to ask ourselves, are they really Muslims? Because they're at the point we have to start questioning. I know this is a bit of a Khawarij, an old ideology which was rejected early on in the start of the Islamic, the formation of Islam. But we have to at some point ask ourselves, when is a person a Muslim? I mean, if you can't keep within this frame set which God has given us, are you really? I mean, do you really believe in God? Do you really accept this? So, I mean, I would like to change this view, partly within the society. I mean, change those people who are behaving as they should. I mean, well-behaved people are the. I mean, getting them to understand that you have to behave in a certain way, and you have to address people in a certain way. You can't just say, "Well, I'm a Muslim. I'm right." And people don't see you as being right. And this is important that non-Muslim understand this, that there are people like me or my friend. He wasn't a good Muslim, but yet he was a good person. And to give them a chance to speak with them, because I mean, if you don't keep an open mind in your life and in society, you will not have any success in your life. You might earn a bit of money, but you won't be happy. You won't be successful. And even if you earn money, you will gain more. And this is your goal in your life. Just if you keep an open mind with people, you will see that you will gain more success. You will get more of it. And just keep an open mind to Muslims. Of course, if it's a bad person, it's a bad person. I don't say to keep an open mind for bad people. Bad people are bad people. You can't change everyone, but the ones who are good, don't reject them on the basis of the bad.